girls go to.
Hello, I'm Dr. Stinson, your instructor for English 300, and in case that little intro wasn't telling enough, a little bit about me. I have a PhD in creative writing, which is why I'm excited to teach this class, because I'm all about writing and literature and essays and basically everything we're going to do this semester. So let's actually talk about what this class is going to be. So first off, thank you for filling out the surveys. Those are really helpful in terms of gauging some of your concerns, expectations, and that's what I really want to start with first, is what a hybrid class is going to be like. So first off, most of you have realized that our scheduling has changed for that. So we will not be meeting on Fridays like you traditionally would for our Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes. The other adaptation is that I'm only going to be seeing half of you on the 2 days we do meet, Monday and Wednesday. I did try to take preferences into account for that on the Google Forms, but I didn't get a lot of responses on that question. I just randomized for the rest that I hadn't heard from, which seemed like the most fair way to do it, especially because of the responses I did get. It seemed like a majority of people wanted to come on Monday, but again, physically, that's just not possible to get the majority in class. I had to split it down the middle. So that list is actually going to be available on Blackboard, and I'll show you where to find that here shortly. So the other element is, because this is a hybrid class, there is more of an expectation to complete things online. So as a jump into the syllabus, one of the big things we're going to be hitting in this video is actually going to be Blackboard and the structure of the class and how to find material on there. So I'm going to share my screen real quick here, and we're going to take a look at the syllabus first. All right. So an overview, the syllabus does include my location, how to book office hour website, or how to book office hours on the website Calendly. That is in a separate video that goes over what that website looked like, what to click on, what our meetings are going to be about, essentially. But our office hours listed there. Here is the big important part of the syllabus, and that is going to be the Zoom link. That is going to be the room in which I stream the alternate class meetings. So as far as hybrid, since I'm only meeting half of you on Monday and Wednesday, on the other day you're not physically in class, you can still watch and participate via Zoom in the chat function. So you can still listen, and I'll regularly check the chat forum to see any contributions, questions, things like that while we're discussing things in class. So you can still be involved. You don't have to necessarily miss material. And that's really the big thing I'm expecting out of the hybrid class, is even though you may only physically be in class for an hour or so, once a week, I still expect you to stick to that 3-hour obligation of committed time. And then of course, usually homework outside of class time is about equal to what you would traditionally spend in class in a face-to-face per week. And I think that really lined up with what most of you were sort of saying in terms of time spent. I am teaching 2 sections of 300. Again, this is just going to go over the program description. This is writing in the disciplines. One thing that's going to mean is, when I talk about this more in assignments, is a lot of more freedom to choose in your prompts, because a lot of you are coming from different disciplines, and you should be able to work and write within those fields as you choose. So, but yeah, we're really just looking at adapting your writing skills to think more consciously about your audience and your genre or form. Is really what we were practicing a lot of. And in doing so, hopefully we're going to have a lot of interesting conversations about different topics. In fact, I do have a theme for my class. I tend to have themes for all my classes. We do identity in English 100. We do modern mythology in my English 200. And so in 300, I'm updating a lot of my course readings to mold to a theme of truth and power. And so we're going to come at that with some unexpected angles, maybe topics that don't seem as related to those things, or maybe not the conversations you always expect when you hear those two words. So we're going to sort of run the gamut of things within that theme. But I like to update readings periodically every semester, just because the world changes, interests change. And because all of your readings are on Blackboard, I can do that a lot more easily because we don't have a textbook, because textbooks are expensive and heavy, and I just don't see the point. So with that, the state of the world makes me want to change things a little more expansively than I have in previous semesters. So I've got our first few weeks pretty meted out in terms of reading, but I am going to be adapting and maybe changing and moving some stuff around. And I'm more interested in sort of focusing on some topics and not on specific readings as we go. But don't worry, I'm always going to give you ample notice of what we're working on, what you need to have prepared. So speaking of the readings being on Blackboard, let's go ahead and look at where those are. So when you go to your class page, everything should be under class readings. So anything you need to read and or watch for our class discussions will be here. And in fact, your first reading is a PDF from a book called The Sex Myth by Dr. Brooke Magnati. It's chapter 5. So it's right here. And I'm going to do my best to keep these in order. So if you ever get lost and you're not sure what you should be reading, just look at what we read or did last and do what's after. That's not a hard and fast rule, but generally they should stay in order under the class reading section. So, again, the hybrid format, so Blackboard, like I said, is going to be the main thing. I think I've already covered the distribution of days. So yeah, let's start with Blackboard a little bit more in depth. So class reading is going to be your main thing. But announcements and the syllabus POA area is going to be your best friend for this class. I always post announcements. I do them pretty regularly. During face-to-face, I did them for every physical class meeting. I told you what we went over and what to do the next class meeting. Because of the hybrid format, and actually just because it worked really well last semester, I'm going to be doing announcements that are copied into your syllabus POA area. And POA is going to stand for Plan of Action. And I am going to be posting those every week, a week before they're needed. So as you can see, week 1 Plan of Action is going to be available when you're in Blackboard this week, even though we don't start until next week. And that's generally going to be the plan. So when we start and come on our first week, week 1, by that Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to have week 2's action plan already available. So essentially, you'll have anywhere from 7 to 14 days advance notice for anything that's due. If it is not on the plan of action, then I'm not going to be assigning it that week. I do not ever plan on giving you anything that's due within 24 or 48 hours because that's ridiculous in a hybrid format and online learning. And also, like, I want you to be able to plan better because I know you're juggling a lot of hybrid and online classes. And as most of you admitted on the syllabus or on the pre-semester check-in, online classes feel like the black hole of time suck. And I absolutely feel that because when I took online classes, that is totally how they felt. They were never really on the forefront of my mind because they were online, and the scheduling didn't feel consistent, and due dates felt more abstract, and it was hard to measure what I needed to be doing. So that's one of the reasons I really like the plan of actions. And again, those are going to be updated every week, a week ahead of time. So let's look at what that's actually going to include. So this is, in fact, your first week's plan of action. So I break down each component. So the syllabus, I want you to review it either by reading it, the written copy I have under syllabus, or as watching this video right now is one way to do it if you prefer that audio visual interaction. And then I'll be going over questions, and that's what I'm telling you here on Monday, Wednesday, so that we can streamline our jump into the semester, that I don't have to repeat syllabus day twice, essentially. Gonna have I use the videos, and then there is a syllabus assignment. I'm gonna get to that a little later, but essentially I'm gonna go over you what you need to do, and then any specific due dates, exercises, things like that will be broken down, or any notes that I have for that information will follow up. So Friday, August 28th, it's gonna take about 20 to 25 minutes. And you'll submit under online assignments like you would anything else we do in class this semester. Then there's your reading. So for class, we're going to discuss Myth 5 in Dr. Brooke Magnani's book. It is about pornography. I'll just go ahead and tell you now. There are some graphic depictions or descriptions of sex and sexuality. So anyone who feels less comfortable talking about those things in class, don't feel pressure obligated to. Again, I just like to start with something a little more unexpected, something that challenges you a little bit more, that isn't just some pedantic, philosophy from 400 years ago, which is what I got in a lot of literature and composition classes of things I didn't really care about. And this is something I think that, is relevant to modern societies. Like, does pornography objectify women? So again, we'll be looking at that, and there will be a reading quiz. This is something you should expect. That's under the reading section of the syllabus as well, that there will always be a reading quiz to complete. They're very short. Generally, they're going to be 1 to 2 questions that are short answer. They'll take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. I'm generally going to have them due before we come to class to discuss the readings, but because this is our first week and I want you to get a little handle of the hybrid situation before I throw a lot of assignments at you, you're going to have until the end of our first week to complete our 2 online assignments, which again is a syllabus assignment and this short quiz. So again, really looking at about 30 to 35 minutes of online exercises, and then about, hopefully an hour to maybe 2 hours, depending on your reading speed for the syllabus and Dr. Brooke Magnani. So hopefully not that long, but again, I'm just ranging for, any speed possible. So, yes. Then there's class distribution. So this is included on the first week plan of action as well. Who's going to be on what day? Like I said, I tried to put preferences into account on those who did answer my survey. And that is going to be listed here. So just take a look at that when ready. I've got both of my courses listed there for those who need access. And again, if you need to attend remotely, so if you're scheduled for Monday, attend via Zoom on Wednesday. If you're scheduled for Wednesday, you can attend on Monday via Zoom. And again, that link is listed at the top of your syllabus with that personal meeting ID room. That's where I'm going to be sending it through. So, and then this is something else I'm going to always include in your plan of actions, which is a daily suggested outline. Big thing, suggested. I had a couple students freak out on me last semester because they thought I was telling them something was due every day, and that is not what the suggested outline is about. Because I give you the due dates. Your syllabus assignment and your quiz are due by Friday, but I have them distributed on Tuesday and Thursday so that you aren't doing all of your work in 3 hours on a Saturday and burning yourself out doing it all at once. Or because you end up putting it off, you end up having to do a lot more than 3 hours at once. That would be a problem. So the daily suggested outline is an expectation that you're doing a little bit of work every day, portioned out, to better organize and to remember what we're doing. Because again, if you're only doing things on this day or this day, like maybe you might forget something. And again, it's really to make you feel less burdened and also to feel better organized. Because I don't know about y'all, but I was a terrible procrastinator in undergrad. I really did not break myself of that until grad school. And I still have problems with that. There's a reason I just do not clean the living room, because I just put it off. But education is something you shouldn't put off. So that is what the daily suggested outline is. Some of you really feel confident in organizing and your time management, but this is just something extra to help you visualize and think about the span of time. The other thing is I'm always going to do it Monday through Friday because I want you to avoid working on the weekends as much as possible. I know that's not logistically possible for some of you who work nights and afternoons and things like that with your classes. But again, I'm trying to show you what my expectations are of what your workload will be. So again, suggested outline. This is not a Bible of these things are due. That's all listed in your breakdown of assignments and tasks, not necessarily your outline. Again, because I'm suggesting you get things done before the due date. Who'd have thunk? You can do that, you know. You can turn things in early, right? So, all right. So these plan of actions will always be available, and I'll include copies of them in your announcements as well in case you don't want to go to the POA section. And the announcements I'll be emailing, I'll have them emailed to you as well. So like when I post the announcements, I'm going to click send email to students, and so you can get them directly, but you can also find them if you want to print them and so forth and yeah. Okay, so plan of actions. No, back to Blackboard. The other thing you can find in the syllabus area is I'm going to be putting the videos. So the video you're watching here, which is not available yet because I'm not done with it. That'll be available if you prefer to listen and watch while I go over the syllabus instead of just reading it. That should have a better score, but anyway. There's also the link here to book for my office hours on Calendly. It's got my calendar, so you can see when I'm available. And of course, Zoom, just a tool link so that you can open that, access, and whatnot. Yeah. Class readings, any notes and materials we go over will be here. So any lecture notes, any handouts, things like that. Any videos that cover material, like I'm gonna have a few more videos over the semester of lectures that maybe I won't have time for in class because we don't have that Friday anymore. They'll be available under here. I don't have them loaded right now. This area is empty, but that's where they're gonna be. Online assignments. So I've already got the links to your first two. Those are available, so the syllabus and the reading quiz. Anything I want you to turn in that is a short exercise or reading quiz, you'll turn in under online assignments. And then your papers are broken up in their own sections. So these will include the prompts, the submission link where to turn it in, as well as we'll be building some samples and maybe some notes specific to your papers. I'll include any of them there. So these are your three main paper assignments this semester. And so again, your prompt submission links are under there. And that's pretty much all we're really going to be using in Blackboard. But I mean, it is a lot, but I'm hoping you can see that there's clear sections so you don't get lost where to find things. If you need any help, of course, you know, if you need some extra Zoom access, tools, all those are available down here as well. Okay, so let's go back to the syllabus. So Zoom, I've covered that. We'll also be using it for our individual meetings. I'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute. Calendly, again, that's how you access my calendar. That is in the other video. I made that its own separate video because it's applicable to all my classes, whereas this is just my 300 syllabus video. So, Slack. I'm gonna hit on this just as a contingency plan. Depending on how things go, things that are beyond your, my, or anyone's control, well, our control. If the pandemic gets worse, and we have to move earlier to online learning only, or we get delayed and only are doing online learning, this Slack is our contingency plan. It is an app and browser accessible, so you can download it to your phone or you can load it in your internet browser. And it's just a workplace discussion area. So we'll have our class discussions there, as well as direct messaging. You can group work, you can share files. Again, if we need to use that, I'll do a video, I'll go over it, we'll practice it. But again, this is just an in case of emergency platform. Otherwise, we're just going to really be using Blackboard this semester. All right, discussion buddy system. So the biggest thing that is impacted by the hybrid format is that we're not all in the same room together multiple times a week, and you can't really gather and work in small groups like we're used to. We used to do a lot of like small group writing exercises of 3 to 4 people, and you're huddled together writing, and I'm coming around every group and giving notes and sharing. Yeah, we can't do that. We just can't. So I still don't want to lose the discussion peer learning element that is really important. So again, that's one of the reasons we're streaming Zoom. We're still having hybrid where we do meet once a week with each group, or each half of the class. And then within the day you meet, I like for you to pick a buddy or at most a trio that you feel comfortable engaging with and maybe trying to work on writing exercises outside of class online, whether it's through Google Docs, through Zoom chats with each other, through Slack, if some of you are familiar with that, or if you wanted me to implement that as a group discussion thing. I can even set up the groups in Blackboard if you want direct access that way. You can text each other, do Google Hangout, you know, whatever. But I think it would be easier to maintain that with one person or 2 people as opposed to your groups of 4, 5, 6 that we normally did. So this way you can still engage and do some peer learning and working with each other and practicing some of the things I assign you. The benefit of that is it's completely optional. If you are that lone wolf, which some of you are, according to my survey, you can still do all this completely independently. I can't really think of any assignment that you have to do together. But if you do want to work in partners or trios, most all of the online exercises, with the exception of the reading quizzes, those are independent. But the writing exercises, the ones where you actually have to think, construct, verbalize, edit, something that actually does work with peer review and peer learning, you can turn those in together. So you can't do reading quizzes together, but a journal exercise or a synthesis writing exercise, or, you know, integrating quote exercise. Those are things we're going to do. You could do those with a partner and turn them in together for a grade. So, I mean, pick a good partner, because you don't want to be the lone wolf and someone trying to take credit for your stuff. Like, in which case, just leave their name off. Problem solved. So this is something I'm making an option for this semester. Again, because interaction is nice, peer learning is nice. So yes. Workshop policy, the reason I do want maybe the buddy trio aspect to work is because workshop's really important in getting other eyes on your work. Editing is not a solo process. The best editing is not done by yourself. It is done with the help and perspective of others. So again, can't do the groups, but you could probably stay within significant distance from someone and still talk about one draft peer to peer, as opposed to trying to talk over 4 or 5 people that are like all spread out. That gets harder. So this way you won't have to move from your specifically spaced out desks, and you can just pick somebody near you or adjacent to you. So that is the plan. We're going to see how this works, and I may be adjusting workshops and doing some different versions of them through the semester, just to, again, continue to adapt to get the best possible results. That's really our motto for the semester. Continued adaptation and evolution. All right, so attendance, I've never really had a strict policy with that. And so just because you don't have to be in face-to-face on Monday or Wednesday, one or the other, doesn't mean you shouldn't still try to pull up the Zoom and participate. Obviously, that's going to be much harder for me to monitor. So again, I've always recorded attendance. I'm still going to record attendance. That's something I take into account in my participation when I'm looking at like rounding grades at the end of the semester, like who was present, who offered feedback, who's improved, that sort of thing. Those are things I look at. But there's not any direct penalties for missing class other than you got to turn stuff in. So I've always just sort of let the assignments themselves speak to like where you end up. I don't need to penalize you extra if you don't show up. So, but if participation becomes an issue, like no one's showing up to the in-class and no one's showing up on Zoom, and like 2 people are coming to talk to me on Monday and then 3 on Wednesday, and then I think there might be a problem here, stuff's getting turned in, but we're missing the whole discussion or action part of class, and that's not fun. So work and makeup work, again, because your plan of actions are always posted a week ahead, you have ample time to do all your work. Again, not assigning stuff last minute. So you are always going to have an entire week's notice of anything that's due. So with that, there are assignments that are going to close. Your online assignments in particular will close a few days after they're due. That's my little leeway. It's like, oh, whoops, I forgot that was due on Thursday. It's Friday. I'm going to turn mine in. Okay, you've probably got it. I'll still see that it's late, but it's in. But I don't want you doing week 2 work in week 4 and 5. You're falling behind at that point. So the idea is closing it is to keep you on task. Now, that being said, I'm going to give 1 grace window at the end of the semester. I will take requests to open things back up before we leave for Thanksgiving. That will be your only window to make stuff up. The exception being your paper links, because your major papers are crucial to your grade. Those links are already open, and those will stay open throughout the rest of the semester. But the little online assignment section, those will be closing periodically. So do not miss the deadlines on those. Again, you'll have a minimum week's notice. There should be no excuse for those. All right, contact me. That's all top of the syllabus, etiquette, da-da-da. All right, university policies, masks. You gotta wear them. I'm gonna be wearing them. You gotta wear them. No ifs, ands, or buts. So I don't feel like I had to explain that a lot. And I think most of these you already know and are familiar with in terms of like academic integrity, not cheating, don't plagiarize. We will do some plagiarism review and citation review in case you have any concerns. Incompletes for resolving grades. Again, I'm not hitting on these because I feel like most of you have probably, you're in English 300. I doubt this. I don't imagine this is anyone's first semester. I think you're probably familiar with these, but if you have questions, let me know. Read them on your syllabus. On the ADA accommodation statement, this is important. Just want to remind everyone that it is up to the student to self-disclose if you need accommodation and to get a faculty notification letter to me. Don't wait until later in the semester when things are already turned in, because I can't retroactively do accommodations. I can only proactively do them. So just give me your documentation, hit me up, and we'll get it sorted. Cool. All right. Tonight, program assessment, writing center, learning center. I do recommend those. Obviously, you can come to my office hours for any help, but if you can't get to me, and some of these do have online scheduling, or you can do online assistance. Just make sure you give ample time to do that, because it takes a little longer for the online sessions to get back to you. So, important dates, the calendar. I think most of you, again, probably seen this in your other syllabi. Like, I know as a student, I always knew what days I was getting off. We're not getting off Labor Day this year. Oh, ooh. I need to fix this because this is the springs. I'll fix that, don't worry. So again, we're ignore that. I'll fix those. Anyway, we're not getting off Labor Day or fall break. It's all getting put on to Thanksgiving break. We're just getting the whole week. But we do get off Election Day, but of course we're meeting Monday, Wednesday, so it doesn't apply to us. So, all right, here's the part I know you really, really care about. Only thing you're interested in. How do I get a grade in this class? What am I graded on? So, like I said, there are 3 major assignments in terms of papers. First is your documentary review and analysis. In our first few weeks, we're going to be talking about criticism and the role of criticism, like what it is, how to do it, why we do it, that sort of thing. And so your first paper is going to be applying criticism and analysis to a documentary. I suggest choosing one in your field or related to your field or within your discipline, essentially. We'll talk more about that when we reach it in class. Then you're gonna have a synthesis paper, which synthesis is really about integration of source material and learning to respond to other writers, researchers, academics, engaging with other people's thoughts to create your own. Again, we'll be practicing synthesis, going over that a lot. And then of course your argument research paper will be your major paper. That one is 8 pages long. That is the longest thing you're going to write in this class. Your documentary review is 3, your synthesis is 4 to 6. Your argument is 8 to 10. So there are some supplemental assignments that go with your argument research paper, and that is an annotated bibliography and a paper proposal. The proposal might look a little different this semester just because of the structure of our class. But I actually don't think it has to be too different because we always had to split it across meeting times anyway. I had to do it over 2 days. So I think it actually may not be impacted too much. So notice your documentary synthesis argument, they go up in increments. So again, 20, 25%, and then 35%. Because again, the more work you're doing, the more practice you get, the more weight is being put to the end of the semester as you go, because again, we're trying to reward your improvement with that. And then 5% for your annotated bibliography and your paper proposal. Then your participation. This is the catch-all for everything else that we do in class, any homework, your reading quizzes, workshops, journals, writing exercises, again, anything that goes under the online assignments category on Blackboard is pretty much your participation grade, worth a total of 10%. So again, you have a weighted grade. You cannot just look at your total points. On Blackboard, you have to look at the weighted total. That is going to be the accurate grade for your semester. So again, the online journals, reading quizzes, your writing exercises, those will be in conjunction with our readings, either inspired by topics that we discuss, applying in a different scenario, or another follow-up reading that you'll respond to within the same topic, or the material we actually talked about in class you'll use as source material to create your exercise, or respond to an exercise. They're going to range in length. Some will be really short, like your first syllabus assignment, which is like 100 words, so to like 500 words. So short essay style. So short answer to short essay, they're going to range. So just keep that in mind. And again, the plan of action will tell you how long they're supposed to be. So again, you can, portion out your time. So let's talk about your syllabus assignment. Now that we're making it through to the end, what I expect you to do now that you have, read this. So your syllabus assignment, as proof that you've read, Interview Magazine does a series. Most of them are written by Christopher Bolin. A couple have some other interviewers, but it's mostly him, and it's still his questions, called Ask a Sane Person. And he just talks to a lot of different people. Some of them are artists, some of them are journalists, some of them are writers, academics, scholars, that sort of thing. Just people in their fields who are thought leaders and things like that. And so this is a newer series, really. With his questions, he does pretty much the same questions every time, a little variation. And so I want you to pick one That's sort of a get to know you exercise, and just a short writing exercise to sort of gauge your skill set, where you're at writing wise. There's a link to just a bunch of the Ask a Sane Person interviews, so you could pick who you want to read the answers to, but the questions are all pretty much the same, and it's the questions that we're interested in. I do also include a link to one of my favorites, with G. Tolentino, sorry, just because her answers on these are great. I love them. And so there's a little bio about who's being interviewed. And so basically I just want you to look through and see what the questions are. And I want you to pick one. Pick any one of the questions that Christopher Woolen poses in this series to any of these people. And again, I like that you have answers so you can kind of see what other people are saying, what kind of answers you're getting, and think about your own in that sense and maybe compare. So again, just picking really anyone here. There might be some names you do recognize. I think Salman Rushdie's in this series. Yeah. If you recognize Salman Rushdie. The Van Johnson, the Van Lathan one. That one's a really good one as well, but that one's by Ben Barna. Not that matters, it's still the same questions. So again, just read, pick a question that you want to answer, and then in 100 words or more, I answer that question that you've picked. Be sure to include the question, that will help as well, just in case I forgot to put that. And then you're going to go onto Blackboard, not that one. You're going to go back to Blackboard, and then you're going to go to online assignments and go to syllabus assignments. And then you're just going to create a journal entry, and then you're going to give it a title, put your question there, put your answer, and then you can save the draft, or you can attach the file. Either one is fine as long as I have access to it. Just make sure, just really doing both. Attach the file, paste it into here, because you never know if I'm going to be able to open your files. There's something about the ones y'all pull off of Google Docs and try to attach that just don't work on Blackboard. If you're using Google Docs, you need to download and adjust the file type, because just the HTML does not work. Like, it's not gonna work. Gotta download that file, make it a file that Blackboard can read. PDFs, but I prefer not PDFs. I prefer Word doc or RTF, rich text files. Those are the ones that are easier for me to open on my computer. So, and then you just post entry and you're done. So, okay, back to syllabus. So that's your overview. Citation style, we'll be doing APA, MLA, either one. And I've got links to Purdue OWL if you need a little review and guide to help. And then the big thing, the last thing I really want to touch on before we talk about syllabus, one of the things that is going to make it required that you book office hours with me is visible grading. And so that's where we actually go over your papers, and I talk a little bit more about that in the other video, so that we do track changes, and so you can actually see what I'm grading and why I'm grading it the way I do, and so the comments can actually match up to things we talk about, because it's really not just about the end result of your work, it's about the writing process that you have. And so as we're grading, we'll be talking about the choices you're making, why you're making those choices, looking at what your composition instincts are, and refining some of your editing perspectives as you go. So again, that's more in detail there. I know that sounds super scary. You're going to have to meet with me twice this semester, face-to-face, and actually talk about your paper and whether it's good or not. I know, super scary and intimidating, but I promise it's not that bad. Most students really enjoy it. They like it. The growth is exponential in terms of progress and improvement in writing after these meetings. So don't be scared and put them off, because that was something that was a little disappointing last semester, is once we did the online transition, is it was much harder to get these meetings scheduled. People weren't doing them via the video chat when they used to do them really well in person. So I'm hoping that does not continue and that we still make these really effective, because again, it's one of the most positively reviewed things in my class that students like. So just make a conscious effort to schedule your meetings and come to me for drafts if you want to get some practice in and be like, I actually want to see how this video chat thing's going to go and how she's going to give me notes before I actually have to get a grade from her. Come see me for drafts. I'm around. And of course the video we'll talk about that I take draft meetings as well. The syllabus, like I said, I'm changing a lot of the readings this semester. They just feel so out of date and out of touch with like where the world is at right now. And some stuff I want to re-emphasize that we already touched on. And I want to make more prominent in our class because they feel really important. So we are going to hit on those things. And yeah, so I've got some general topics that we're going to cover, both in terms of composition and just reading subjects. But again, as always, check your action plan of actions, announcements, and your actual course reading or class reading section on Blackboard. And that's going to tell you pretty much everything you know. And I will update the dates on the syllabus because apparently I missed that section. I don't know how. Anyway, if you have questions, I'm going to be covering those and asking about those in class on Monday and Wednesday, but also I'll be taking them through the Zoom chat function if you prefer. But yeah, so that's the gist. And goodness, I am trying to think if I've missed anything. I don't think I have, but I probably have because I always miss something. In which case we'll figure that out later. So anyway, I'm super excited. Can't wait to see you. We're gonna have a great semester, and don't forget to do your reading.